to point his finger at somebody who was so close to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah radiallahu anhu was one of the close companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The idea of conflict, the idea of blame, the idea of pointing fingers at each other was alien to the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The way they saw it, that anything that was close to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was fully respected, whether it was the Ahlul Bayt, whether it was the household of Rasulullah, whether it was the Sahaba, the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They revered everything to do with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, such that even if they were doing one of the most mundane acts, one of the most simplest of acts, and they would hear that, no, oh brother, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to do this in a different manner, they would give that particular way up and follow the way that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam did that particular action. Just as Sayyidina Anas radiallahu anhu, that why he would walk along the streets and suddenly lift off his amama, suddenly lift off his turban and then put it back on his head, moving away from the streets that would normally take the pilgrims to Hajj. Once a person asked him, why did you do this? That every time I see you, you move away from the path, you lift your turban off your head and then you place it back and then you rejoin the route. He said, in fact, what it is that I saw the Prophet ﷺ walk along this path and the path didn't go straight, the path bent round this particular place. So I thought I will take the path of Rasulullah ﷺ, even though it is easier for me to go in the straight path. And he said, while Rasulullah went round this side, there was a branch that caught onto his turban and it lifted his turban off his head. So although there isn't a branch at this particular moment, I lift my turban off as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's turban lifted off his head. Such was the value of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and such was the value placed on anything connected to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is exactly as Rasulullah's order was, that I should be more beloved to you than anything else in the world. When you put this rule in front of your eyes, then it is impossible to say anything against any of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Sayyidina Imam Hussein, although many of the Sahaba Ikram disagreed with the leadership, they remained quiet, they remained silent and went with the masses. They went with Sayyidina Imam Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. When Hazrat Amir Muawiyah passed away, through consultation with a few other individuals, he left his son Yazid as the leader amongst the mu'mineen. It is disputed about the characteristics of Yazid at that particular point. It is said that there was nothing abnormal about this individual. There was nothing that would have led him outside the fold of Islam at that particular moment. He had grown up in a household with a leader such as Hazrat Amir Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. His character was okay. There was nothing wrong with it up to this particular point. So many people swore allegiance to him, and many people gathered around him and lent him a lot of support. However, the material wealth that Yazid had seen was unknown to Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu. He was a prince, yes, but he chose a life which was very much dedicated to the people around him, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had dedicated his life to his ummah. His grandson was much the same and did exactly as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had taught him to do. So there was a total contrast in the lifestyles, in the sense that Yazid had seen the luxuries of the world, Imam Hussein had seen the luxuries of deen, had seen the luxuries of the religion. So this obviously was a clash between two different ideologies, as Yazid came up with a plan saying that to gain unification amongst everybody and for everybody to accept him as a leader, he identified four individuals, four people who he considered a threat to himself, and sent out small groups in order for them to swear allegiance to him. Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu was in Medina at the time. He stood as a great companion, as an individual who everybody would relate to, and whenever they had a difficulty, they would go to him. So obviously this was a threat to Yazid. So when he sent his people there, Sayyidina Imam Hussein very diplomatically told him that I need to think about what you are asking me, and refused at that time to swear allegiance to him. After much consultation with his family, with his people, he moved on to Makkah al-Mukarramah, where the governor was somewhat sympathetic towards him. While he was there, there was a governor change in Makkah al-Mukarramah as well, as Yazid began to closen his grip on Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu and his family. At the same time, the people of Iraq, Kufa, they continually wrote to Sayyidina Imam Hussein, because these were the people who were known as the Shi'an Ali, the group of Ali, those who supported Sayyidina Ali Karramallahu Wajhul Kareem. And even amongst them there were people who would say that Sayyidina Ali should have been rightful for the caliphate before the other companions. These people wrote to Sayyidina Imam Hussein, and the letters that he received were numerous, they were many. And upon this, he felt that he should move on to Kufa, and in between Kufa, the Battle of Karbala took place. This is an area which leads towards mainland Iraq and is found in southern Iraq today. Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu, acting upon these letters, sent one of his close cousins to go and find out the ground reality of Kufa, in order to go there on the instruction of the people. He was told that the situation in Kufa is very good and that he should come. So Imam Hussein began preparations to move to Kufa. Meanwhile, Yazid changed the governor in Kufa, and Sayyidina Imam Hussein's cousin, Imam Muslim, was killed there. The situation on the ground in Kufa turned suddenly when the people of Kufa suddenly turned back on their promises to Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu. And overnight, this uprising that was beginning there, which had nothing to do with Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu, in the sense that Sayyidina Imam Hussein was with his family in Makkah Mukarramah, intending to still go to Kufa, intending still to make his way there. In Kufa, when things had totally changed, there was no message sent back to Sayyidina Imam Hussein to tell him to remain where he is. Sayyidina Imam Hussein then set off towards Kufa, and on the battlefield of Karbala, it seems that the most authentic source tells us that there were some 72 people with Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu. Many of them were women and children, although there were some able warriors with Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu as well. Again, reliable sources tell us that they were outnumbered 50 to 1, which seems the most realistic number. Eventually, what happened is that the leader, the commander of that particular army, which was not Yazid, but somebody he had appointed, came to Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu and asked him to swear allegiance to Yazid. Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu presented three possibilities. He said that either allow me to return back to Medina al-Munawwara, where I can continue my jihad of self-struggle, where I can continue to live in the same alleyways in which I used to play with my illustrious grandfather sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Let me go back to that place where people will respect me and where people have always loved me. This was refused by that army as Yazid's instruction was clear that either Sayyidina Imam Hussein swears allegiance or he is killed on that particular day. Sayyidina Imam Hussein's second proposal was to allow him to be banished from the Islamic lands. He said, allow me to go to the borders and let me live a quiet life, a secluded life, and leave matters to me, in effect showing that there is another aspect of jihad, which is jihad bil amal. It is to lead a righteous life in such a manner that others would look at you and they would adopt your mannerisms, and people would look at the character of Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu, and automatically they would be inclined towards Islam had they not already accepted it. Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu pointed to this other aspect of jihad, saying that a struggle in the battlefield is not just jihad, but if you struggle to perfect yourself, perfect your amal, perfect the way in which you practice your religion, there is no more powerful method in which you can propagate Islam. There is no more powerful method in which you can draw people towards this particular religion, which is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and which does not apologize, but it shows and leads from the front and shows how things should be done. Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu presented this as a proposal for his negotiation of leaving this battlefield. The third and final